Hey guys, Darren Carr here, coach of Wise Action Pods, and welcome back to another episode of Trade Mode. 3 weeks left to go in the AFL fantasy season, and we are in full swing luxury season, as we know. It's the most hated time of the year. Everyone does not like this time of the year because it's just trades can backfire so quickly. Just look at Caleb Daniel last week. A lot of people traded him out. He puts a 115 on your head and probably was one of the biggest scorers in our forward line. So really annoying when it comes to that sort of trading. But yeah, this is where we're at this time of the year. So yeah, we'll try and do the best we can. So let's get straight into the options this week. I'll try and make this one a bit quicker than normal because I think we all know what we're doing this time of year. There's a lot of easy targets this week, so let's get straight into them. But before we do that, we'll look at the trade out targets. So my top 5 trade targets so far are Tom McCarthy's my number one. I just think the time's right for him now. He's been a good servant since he debuted and has been a really good scorer, averaging 84 over his first 7 games. He's now got a bit of a tougher run. Crows, Western Bulldogs, and Sydney, all 3 very tough games for defenders specifically. So I think his time just is up. He's got good amount of money in his head. You can get him up to a very good premium quite easily with him and another rookie, so he could be a very good option just to jump off, get a 23rd premium, and be able to loop in certain lines. If you've got a Zach Merritt or a Zach Butters, both look likely to cop tag this weekend, so you could have that 23rd premium in the midfield. Look at what Butters does, or look at what Merritt does, because I think Merritt plays Friday night, so you'll be able to have a look at him fairly early. He's probably got the tougher matchup in Mullen, and then you could swing on whoever your 23rd premium is a very good option. So I think McCarthy just provides a lot of flexibility within your trades, and he obviously again has very good money on his head. And I don't think he's going to put up the best scores that are going to be usable for us anymore this time of year, just because he does play the last game of the round for like the most of the rest of the season. So I just don't see a world where you're going to use him anymore. So I think his time's up and he can go. So here's number one. Number two, I've got Zach Merritt. He has definitely got the Mullen tag coming his way this weekend. We saw what Mullen did to Butters last week, where he put up that 34. Even though, the Cats had that game in the bag by quarter time, they just did not release that tag all day. They did not care if they were winning that game at all. They just held it throughout the entire thing. So that is very concerning because they now have Essendon, who is likely going to go to Merritt. And again, they should have this game well and truly covered. They probably win by 100 points, but more than likely, Mullen's going to stay on Merritt the entire game. So I am, as a Merritt owner, I am definitely concerned. So my first initial reaction is either chuck him on the bench or just simply trade him out. He's got enough money in his head that it is an easy, pretty sideways trade. You can get up to a pretty easy premium, or you can even downgrade him slightly to another decent option that we'll get into a little bit later. So I think he is someone that you definitely need to at least put on your bench in a loop and see how he goes Friday night. If not, just look to trade him out and just move on. So yeah, looking at the remaining games as well. A Windhager also did a tag last weekend. I can't remember exactly who it was on. I think it was an LDU. So yeah, that's obviously a concern that Windhager's starting to tag again. So that's another concern there. Then also bloody Colton. So I think we mentioned it previously. Realistically, I should have traded Merritt last week if I followed my plan, but just moved off for a little bit just because I didn't think these next 3 tags was going to happen. But 1 week's a long time in fantasy, and now they look like they're all going to be tagged. So even the likes of a Cooper Lord did a tagging job on the weekend for Carlton and kept Sarong to 19 touches for a score of 66 or something like that. So all 3 of these all 3 of these teams potentially are going to tag Merritt. So I think his time's just done, so he can just go. So that's why he is number 2. Number 3, I have Christian Petrarca. He has just been putrid. For a premium such as him is what we expect him to be very good. He's averaged 105 in the past as a midfielder. He's now playing a bit more forward. He's not spending as much in the time in the midfield. And looking past the last 4 or 5 weeks, even with some very good matchups, he's still just hitting 70s. This is where I expected him to go, an average 100 throughout this period, but it's just been shocking. And now he's got a really tough run to finish off the season with the next 3 Western Bulldogs, Hawks, and the Collingwood there. So very tough. I think he can jump off him and you can easily get, 20, 25 points quite comfortably, who can average 95 to 100. We'll talk about some more options, but just off my head, Graham Myers, Jeremy Cameron's another one that a lot of people are looking at. Even a Sam Darcy's better option than Petrarca at the moment. So I just think he's an easy upgrade for a lot of people in this pretty terrible role. So I think he can go and has been causing a lot of frustration in a lot of people's teams. So, yeah. The only thing with that one is obviously Goodwin has been sacked as the coach. So does that sort of shift anything at Melbourne? Does he spend more time in the midfield? Do they put more reliance on these big players that they have in the club? I'm not 100% sure, but it could also work in the negative effect as well. It could mean he could spend purely time up forward because that's where they find him most damaging, and they could probably run a few more younger players in the midfield just to see what they have for the remainder of the 3 games. So yeah, there is a lot of ups and downs with that, but I think he can definitely go this week. Number 4, I've got Dane Zorko. There's probably not been as too much talk about him, but he has been pretty poor. Obviously last week, the 55 and then 80 on the weekend. He just does not look right at the moment. We can see that with the way he's running and with his kicking at the moment. The teams aren't using him as much. Wilmot's definitely taking a predominant role back there. And just looking at the run as well, it is fairly tough. Sydney, one of the toughest matchups going around at the moment. Hawks not easy as well, and Fremantle I think are just a neutral matchup. So I just think there's an opportunity that you can just jump off a Zorko and get up to one of these big primo dogs, a Holmes or a Wangini Malera if you're not have him, or Whitfield is even pretty much a straight swap from Zorko. So if you don't have any of those guys, that's an easy upgrade to go from a Zorko to these guys who have a very good run on the way home that can have these ceiling scores. I just don't think I'm going to get a ceiling score from Zorko at the moment that is going to hurt me. So I'm not concerned. And if I was an owner, there's definitely an opportunity that I would look at jumping off of him while I still can, because, his last 5, he's only just hit 2 tons, which were 103 and 104. Hasn't been amazing since the buy. So that foot injury is definitely concerning him. And yeah, if you're an owner, definitely an opportunity to jump off. He is 20% owned. So yeah, he is dropping like a stone at the moment. So that's why he's made my top 5. And then number 5, I have gone with the likes of Zach Butters, obviously coming off that very stinky 34. That was just putrid, honestly. Even though you're getting tagged, I don't understand that. You at least need to tackle. You need to do everything you can to get as many touches as possible. He even took some kick-ins, and that didn't save his score, which is ridiculous. Only 10 touches, 2 tackles. Yeah, definitely not something that I want on my team. He's got potentially a Wagner this weekend. He did the job previously on him, but he held him to an 85. So 85 still not even a pass mark for me at this stage. So I just want nothing to do with that. He then also has a potential Cooper Lord. Again, we saw him tag so wrong this weekend. So even though Cherry may be back and may take that midfield position back this weekend, I still think Cooper Lord potentially is going to be a bit of a watch of the tags coming soon for the remainder of the season. So just keep that in mind. So I think Butters can go. Again, he can easily go up to some very good players. He is 950k, so can jump up to him quite easily with an easy downgrade option from one of the rookies, or even a sideways with another premium. So that is my top 5. Another couple options that I needed to speak about, some of the obvious ones I didn't put in here, like if you have a Lockie Neal, he's obviously done for the home and away season now, so he needs to go. A Jack Steele, obviously, has been battling this bloody injury, whatever it is. So he obviously started as a sub, so if you still own him, he could potentially go. Well, I think he probably needs to go just with how he's been travelling, so unfortunate there. Ned Long, if you're still an owner, he put up a 46 in the weekend and was just terrible. 9 touches, 7 tackles. I think he went at 11% disposal efficiency as well for Collingwood, and was probably one of the main reasons that they lost. So I wouldn't even be surprised if he was potentially dropped, and they brought in a Tom Mitchell instead to fill that role. So just be careful with that when it comes to team selections. I don't remember exactly when. Oh, they play Thursday night, so you will know. They play tomorrow night, so you won't know exactly when they are, if he is inside. So yeah, he's another one that can go. Tim English is an interesting one as a trade out option. He's not on this list just because he does have Max Gorn this weekend, and obviously some other ruckmen are putting up some very, very good scores, like a Brody Grundy and Max Gorn and a Rowan Marshall particularly. So if you don't own one of those three, or if you're looking just to make a simple upgrade, I do think Max holds English down to an 80 or 90 potential score. So I do think you can get 30, 40 points quite simply this week by going a Tim English up to the likes of a Rowan Marshall or a Brett Grundy. Probably one of those two are my favourites, but obviously we'll talk about them a little bit later. But yeah, there's concerns there with Rowan Marshall with Heath in there. Didn't affect him on the weekend, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. So it's definitely an interesting prospect. Tim English only has a good matchup against the Eagles remaining. Dockers are a bit more of a neutral matchup with obviously the Twin Towers there and Luke Jackson and Sean Darcy. So yeah, I do think there is potential upgrade going from Tim English. He's been a very good servant, don't get me wrong. Looking at his scores, he's only put up one sub ton in the last since round 13. So yeah, unreal, and has been hitting consistent 120s as well. So it's a bit of a stiff one. If you are a fan of Tim English, I wouldn't stop you from just riding him out through the remainder of the season because I still think he'd be great. But yeah, again, it's one of the easier lines to get an instant impact because we generally know in the rucks that we're going to get the reward quite simply. So here's just one I wanted to mention. And also another one, Tom Green. I know there's been a lot of grumbles in the fantasy community. 500 people are trading him out this week. But it's just such a tough one because, yes, he's been terrible. 67, 72. He's hit the 110 on the average every so often. 79 even before that. But he has North this week, so it should be a very good matchup. North, historically, I think are the easiest matchup for inside mids so far this season. I think Essendon just has got them recently as well. So, but yeah, I guess if Tom Green is the worst player in your team and he's just really frustrating you, go ahead. But looking at the run, it's not too bad. And like I said, North easiest matchup. Suns have been an easier matchup for majority of the season. They have got tougher in recent times, but they're still hovering around that green area. St Kilda's a bit of a tough one to read, just because they have been super tough, but they've also been easy at the same time. So a bit of a tough read on what's exactly happening there. And obviously tag concerns. I don't think they go to Tom Green. More than likely they go to Callaghan anyway. So does that open up more opportunities? Yeah, it's just a tough read. And I particularly like to trust the run. He's had, Sydney tough run, one of the toughest matchups. So sort of expected that one. The one against Western Bulldogs was a bit unexpected. 25 touches, 1 mark, 3 tackles. Not an amazing stat line, obviously. Yeah, it's tough if you're an owner. I don't know where I sort of sit. If I was an owner, what would I do? I'd probably just hold him because I think he could bounce back quite simply. But again, if he's the worst player in your team, you don't think there's someone else that could go worse than him, then yeah, then he could go. So that's just where I sit with those sort of guys. So I think that's all I wanted to mention. Rosie, I didn't mention him. Obviously, he is the most traded out player already. From what I'm aware of, he is not on the injury list. I'll show you that here. So he did not make the injuries list at all. So it was simply just a illness. So he should be back this week. They even say it in here. They're expecting to welcome him back. So I'm just holding him. I know it's been rough, and yeah, if you traded him out 2 weeks ago when not all of us had the opportunity to do, then you definitely would be coming out in front because he's missed 2 of the last 3. But yeah, I think if he's back this weekend, I don't think it's worth wasting a trade moving him on. Just because again, he could be one of the top 3 defenders for us because he has been so consistent. So I just needed him to get back to those sort of ways fairly quickly. So yeah, that's just where I sit with Rosie. Obviously, there's a lot of cash cows in here. Clark, Rolston, May, Liddy, all those guys can go. Hayden Young, obviously injured as well. He can go. Johnson. Flanders has been pretty shocking. I haven't really been tracking how he's been going realistically because I was never interested. 59 and 56, just shocking. Yeah, wasn't a huge fan of that one. Sarong, I did say he got tagged again, very unexpectedly. 66 off the back of a 71. He's just, yeah, he just does not know how to cop a tag. It's just annoying as hell. So, but if you follow the pattern, two big ones, two small ones, two big ones, two small ones. Does he go big this weekend? Potentially. Do I see a tag coming his way this against Port Adelaide? Unlikely, unless it's a Drew does an uncharacteristically tag job. We haven't really seen that all so far this year, so I think it's unlikely, but we'll have to wait and see. So, but also the run's pretty shocking as well for the likes of Fremantle, so you could jump off him as well. Jera, if he held on, he's potentially a test. Would I stay on that one? It's not the terrible run, Suns, I said, Essendon pretty good, so maybe you could hold on to that one, but he had been poor previously. But yeah, we're getting to some very unique areas here now. So let's move on, I think. Let's get into the trade-in targets. This is where a lot of people are obviously looking. So we'll start with... Where do we want to start? We'll start with the forwards, because I think that's where a lot of people are looking this week. There's two pretty big targets that a lot of people are looking at. My number one is Jeremy Cameron. Obviously, he's just going for that 100 goals this season. He's very much on track. He's got 3 matches to do it within the home and away season. They are absolutely targeting him. If you watch this Port Adelaide game, they were just going to him with every opportunity possible, handballing it over to him, even allowing him to run behind and just take a few shots off of them. So I genuinely think he could have another 150 game this weekend. He obviously saw that. He kicked 11 goals against North 2 weekends ago. He's now got an even easier matchup against Essendon, who just look absolutely arrival at the moment. They don't have anyone there that can really stop him, in my opinion. So I just think he's going to have plenty of marks, kick plenty of goals, probably kicks 10, and could potentially put up a 150 at 130 at a minimum, I think. So he's definitely the number one target for me this weekend. So I'm jumping on him. And looking at the run forward, I know Sydney's a tougher one, but again, with how they are targeting him, and how he's been traveling, I still think he is a very viable option for that week. And if you're in a luxurious position, you could even look to just loop him for that week, see how he goes, and then chuck him back on, or have another player on standby that could be there to cover him if he does have a poor week. I still think he kicks 4 or 5 quite simply, and hopefully puts up a 70. So I think he's a great option, and obviously finishes off with Richmond. So, yeah, can't argue too much there. He kicked 4 goals, 5 against them previously in the previous matches. So, yeah, he should go very, very well. I don't think he's versus Sydney at all this season. Yeah, has not played Sydney all season this year. So, yeah, I'll have to look back through his history to see how he previously travels, but I won't talk about that now. So, yeah, I think Jeremy Cameron's obviously number one target. Again, I think you're going to get instant reward there. Number 2, I do have Graham Myers. As being an owner for probably the past 5 weeks, he's been very, very good. Hasn't dropped below 85 in the last 5 matches. Now playing a bit more of a role in the midfield as well. So, yeah, just more access to the ball. Get works back hard to get to the halfback to be able to get those +6s every now and then. Not sort of the main tag target, obviously, with the likes of Baz in there and Holmes, who are probably a little bit more damaging every now and then, but Graham Myers also hits the scoreboard a fair bit. So I just think he's definitely part of the top 6 forwards on the way home. Again, the runs there, 2 very, very easy matchups for him. And yeah, he's just going very, very well. So here's another huge target, I think, who does have a ceiling. We have seen a 122 last week and 137 previously, 110s. So yeah, he's actually been very, very good all year, with bar the injured score. He had that 46. Did have a 60 in there, but everything besides that has been sort of 70 plus. So been very, very good. So yeah, I think he's definitely one you want to own for the run home. So that's number 2. Number 3, I still have Matthew Kennedy. I know he didn't go extremely well last week with a 79. Was my lowest score in the forward line. But again, looking at the run, Melbourne, West Coast, Fremantle should be fairly good. It was only that tougher matchup this weekend. Yeah, and was down on tackles as well. So he's just a simple one. Definitely part of the top 6. So you just want to own him. Number 4 is where we're a bit more unique, looking at, the run home. A lot of us probably have the likes of Caleb Daniel, Rankin. I'm trying to think of who else now. Those sort of guys, they're probably all serviceable, but if you're looking to go a bit more unique, you could go with a Daniel Curtin. He has been phenomenal for a period of time now, pretty much since the bye. He's gone 118, 50, which is the only outlier score, 114, 93, 97, 93. So been very, very consistent. And he has got the West Coast Eagles and North to finish off the season. Got Collingwood in there as well, which could be a bit of a tougher one, but he did go. He's got a 57 against them. Sorry, a 56 against them early in the season. So I still think, yes, he's a viable option as a winger. We know that they can be very volatile, but winger West Coast Eagles are a extremely easy matchup for wingers. So I do think you could get a bit of a reward there for him this weekend. And then I've got the thriller, Riley Thilthorpe as my number 5th option. Again, same run. Got the Eagles, got North, so I think he could kick a couple bags against them. Kicked 11 against West Coast early in the year for a 113, so he could definitely put up a bit of a ceiling score. He put up a 67 against Collingwood earlier in the year as well. Again, I didn't kick any goals in that game, so hopefully he can hit the scoreboard this time around because it is at home. That's the benefit. They should have a bit more of an easier matchup when it's at home. And then to finish off with the North, he only kicked 3 goals for an 89. So I definitely think he could be part of that small group of top forwards as well, who could potentially have a ceiling. The only flag I have with this one, and why he's probably further down than that, is the fact that Crows are very much in the potential to go into finals. Well, they're going to be finalists. It's just, are they going to start resting players and start getting them primed ready for finals? And these two potential games are very susceptible to that because they'll have it in the bag by quarter time, if not half time, and they could potentially look at resting some players. So that's the only thing to keep in mind. But yeah, definitely could see a world where Thilthorpe goes massive for the remainder of the season. So that is my top 5 in the forward lines. A couple other options I should quickly mention. Neil Bullen, again, another Adelaide Crow boy. He's been very good for the past 3 sort of weeks. 135, 108, 91. So does he continue on? I just sort of see him more as a workhorse, in my opinion. So he likes the tougher matchups, which he has had. Hawthorn, the showdown, while it wasn't particularly a tougher matchup. They always sort of get up for the showdown, obviously. And the Suns is a very tough matchup. But when you see against the easier ones like a Richmond, a 50, I'm not sure I'm super keen on that. Scored a 64 against the West Coast early in the year as well, and a 59 against North. So just the history isn't really there for him, so I'm a bit nervous with that one. But again, very unique if you want to go a bit of a shot in the dark. Not really going to talk about the cheaper options. I don't think I really need to go there. Jackson's still a viable option. He did go well last weekend. But yeah, just sort of losing that midfield role slightly. Just still a bit concerned there with that one. Bailey Smith is the obvious one I didn't talk about. He's just an absolute need. If you still don't have him, you will want him for this matchup. I've been saying for the last 2 weeks you wanted him since he's bounced back. So yeah, I think you definitely want him there. Tim Kelly went well with the 93. If you're looking for a 23rd premium in the forward line, definitely a viable option. Down at sub 600k, so yeah, unreal areas. And I think that's about it. Cozzy has been pretty good. Did cop a bit of attention on the weekend, but yeah, 103 still been very, very solid. So yeah, it is definitely a viable option. But again, what happens with the coach? Does he get paid more forward? I'm not sure. So probably not going there. McRae's still a decent option, but still looks like he's managing something with another 66% time on ground. So yeah, it's scary areas to buy in at this stage, but I could easily see him having a 120 plus game quite simply. So yeah, I think that probably does it for the forwards. We'll jump out of those and we'll go to another. We'll quickly touch on the rucks. Go in reverse order this week. So rucks, I don't think too many people are looking in this area this week. I think a lot of people are fairly happy, but For the rucks, if you are doing a ruck trade, I still think Roland Marshall's the one you're jumping on to. He by far has the best run home. Richmond, Essendon, and the Giants. Very, very easy matchups. Should average over 120. Quite simply, the only slight flag, again, is Heath. Obviously came back and did play quite well last weekend. So, yeah, he potentially looks like he's going to hold his spot. But it obviously didn't disturb Roland Marshall this weekend with the 142. So, are they starting to work together a bit better? Was he not taking as much of the ruck contests? I couldn't answer those questions, but yeah, I still think he's definitely the one that by far has the best run home. That's still a very achievable price tag. Number 2 is the most expensive man, $1.24 million now. I think that's probably the most expensive player we've ever had in the game. Absolutely flying, has not dropped below 100 since round 8. And hasn't dropped below 110 in that time either, which is unreal. So yeah, he's just absolutely flying. So if you're looking to jump on the best guys possible, Brody Grundy's still up there. He does, however, have the likes of Darcy Fort this weekend and potentially Oscar McInerney, so it could be a bit of a tougher matchup for him. But with the way that he is going, I don't think anyone's going to stop him. 39 touches last weekend. He is just bullying any ruckman in there, grabbing it out of the rock contest, putting it on the boot, and taking a lot of marks around the ground as well. So he's just getting it done. So I can see him being a viable option, but he's super expensive, as I said. Max Gawn has probably been a little bit disappointing for what I sort of expected since he's come off this bit of a tougher run. 123, 113. I was sort of hoping for a few more ceiling scores like 130, 140s, but hasn't quite got there. He's now got English and Lloyd Meek, still very two easy ruckman. English has sort of gotten a bit tougher in the last couple of weeks, so we'll see how that sort of plays out. And then finished off with Darcy Cameron as well. So I probably wouldn't be buying into it now if I was looking to do a trade there. I definitely think Royal Marshall and Brody Grundy are the ones you want. But Max is definitely a close third at this stage, but yeah, not getting the reward at the moment. And then to finish off, I've got Tristan Cherry. Obviously, he is returning this weekend off his 3-week suspension. If you wanted to just go absolutely left field and be completely unique, have a bit of stab in the dark, because no one in the top sort of 5K, 10K will own this guy because obviously he's been out for the last 3 weeks. Yeah, I still think he could go very well. He has the likes of Giants this week. Again, very easy matchup. Richmond the week after, we saw him go 150 early in the year, 155 against Nankervis there. They love to verse each other, so I could definitely see him going well in that game. And then does finish off with Riley O'Brien, which is the only tough matchup on the way home. So again, if you just wanted to go absolutely left field, this is definitely an avenue. I wouldn't advise it, but yeah, just he's super cheap and for what he is potential of. So yeah, just wanted to mention that one there. So that is Rucks. I don't think I need to mention anyone else. I think it's pretty straightforward in my opinion. Okay, we'll move on to the midfielders now, which, yeah, is an interesting zone because, again, midfielders just suck. I'll be honest. If you're going anywhere unique in your lineup, midfield's probably the one because there is not a huge amount of trust in the midfielders at the moment, where a lot of them are copying tags and a lot of them are super inconsistent. So let's get into the top 5. Top 5 is number 1, Jordan Dawson. If you've been a non-owner all year, I think now's the time to jump on him. Like I said, West Coast, North, out of 2 of the next 3, even Collingwood at home, he put up a 138 against Collingwood early in the year. So I just think he gets it done. I think he averages over 120 on the way home. So I think you want to own him. He could put up some definitely big stealing scores. Captain option for the next couple weeks. So I think you will want him quite definitely. Number 2, I still have Matt Rao. My God, losing my voice already. Yeah, he's just been super consistent. Has not dropped below 100 since round 10. Put up some very good ceiling scores. Didn't quite get the reward last week with a 106 against a very easy Richmond. Comes up against the likes of Carlton this weekend, who again is quite easy. I don't see a tag coming for Matt Rao. Anderson's a bit of a different kettle of fish. That's why he's not featured in my top 5. Again, I do expect Cooper Lord to do a bit of a job here against those sort of possession winners, which Anderson is. So I'd be concerned if I was an Anderson owner this weekend. Definitely could see that. He, like I said, Cooper Lord, just a reminder, Cooper Lord did hold Caleb Sarong to 19 touches to 66 points. So Anderson is a very similar kettle of fish. So yeah, I'd be concerned there, and I would not be trading into him this weekend. So I still like Matt Rao, very consistent, does have a ceiling, and yeah, getting the tackle numbers at the moment. So that's why he's number 2. He is expensive. The only other thing as well was the run isn't great. You know, GWS and Port Adelaide to finish off the season, not great, but you know, Matt Rao is not one of these players that sort of care about tough matchups. You know, looking at tough ones, Collingwood 140, Adelaide 118, Brisbane Lions 145. He actually probably prefers the easier matchups, in my opinion. He loves to get in there, gets the tackles, get the high contested play. So I think he will be fine on the way home. Number 3, with Lockie Neal being out for the remainder of the season, that just means there's probably going to be a bit more share in the Brisbane midfield. So does the likes of a huge Hugh McCluggage or a Josh Dunkley, even a Will Ashcroft, do they start to get more possessions? If I had to go with one of them, I'm just going with Josh Dunkley. He's definitely the safest of the bunch. You know, 4 scores over 110 in the last 4. Does come up against Sydney this weekend. The run isn't great. Let's be honest. That's why he's a bit further down this list. I'm just not super confident with it. But again, I think Josh Dunkley is one of those players that prefer it to be a bit more of a tight contested game where it's a bit tougher. The game's on the line rather than these super easy ones that we saw early in the season where he was just hitting these 80 sort of scores where they were quite comfortably winning. So yeah, I just think Josh Dunkley could definitely be the one that we could jump onto this week as a bit of a safe play, 110 sort of guy. If you wanted to go super unique, he definitely could go Hugh McCluggage as a bit of a pod. He is cheap. Off a 119 last weekend. Does know how to find a bit of a ceiling when it comes to easier matchups. But no easy matchups in sight. So that's the only concern again. So that's why he doesn't feature in my list. Number 4, I've got George Hewitt. He has been good the last 2, 116, 122. We have seen this in the past, though. He does sort of go for these hot patches and then drops a 50 or a 60 on your head quite quickly. So it would be a bit of a brave zone to go to, but yeah, probably a very favourable sort of M9 sort of position if you're looking for a person that can have a big ceiling score. He definitely sort of falls in that category. So yeah, and they also play the likes of Essendon in round 24. That we now know the fixture of that game as well, which is on the Thursday night. Stupidly, don't know why they put these dead rubber games blockbuster, but anyways, yeah. So he's sort of falls into that perfect category of you can loop him around every now and then if you're concerned about him not scoring well. So I think he's a viable option that's been putting up some very good scores. And then I've got number 5 as Errol Gordon. The only reason he's probably further down this list is that he hasn't been great. You know, those 3 sort of 90-ish scores a couple weekends ago weren't super. Didn't give you much confidence. Obviously went well last weekend with 114 against a very easy matchup in Essendon, but has the likes of the Brisbane Lions, who should be a bit tougher. Geelong again should be an interesting one, but then does finish off with West Coast Eagles. I do think you will want him for that one. So maybe won't get the instant reward this weekend for Errol, but definitely down the line I could see it happening. A couple more options I didn't mention. Again, I'm just only talking about pure inside mids. If you can fit them anywhere else, then yeah, that's where I'd go. Paddy Cripps, I'm just not going there. If you don't have Bontempelli, here's an obvious option that you can still jump onto. The run home is fairly good, like I said, with Kennedy. West Coast Eagles, you want him for that one, I think. So yeah, get him for that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. The other thing I wanted to mention about the midfielders is that you're probably just trading in defenders at this stage. You know, if you already got your defense pretty stacked and you're missing out on, you know, like a Sheasel or something like that, you could easily trade in a Sheasel into your midfield and just sit him there for a while because they're probably performing better than half of the midfielders that we have at the moment. So that's just another point I wanted to raise. And that's where I'm sort of going on my team at the moment. I've probably got 2, if not 3, defenders in my midfield at this point. So it's just all defenders at this stage. A new age of fantasy for sure. So that is the midfielders done. I don't think I need to mention anyone else. We will quickly finish off with the defenders and then I'll cap off with what my trades are and what my top 5 for the overall round is. So, defenders, this is the areas that we're really looking, So, Max Holmes is my number 1. He by far has the best matchup this weekend with Essendon. I think there's been a common theme across my all these rankings. It's just pretty much targeting all the Geelong players. They have 2 very easy matchups on my home. The easiest one this weekend. Now, Essendon are the easiest matchups for both midfielders and also designated kick-out players, which Max Holmes sort of fits into both categories very, very well. The only other player that sort of fits in that category as well is Nick Dacos, and we saw Nick Dacos go like 146 against Essendon not too long ago as well. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty big game for Max Holmes. I do think Bailey Smith can also rack up as well. So both those boys, you will want them, I would say. So he is my number 1 by far. Going to be a good captain option this weekend. Number 2 is just Wangani Milura. If you're still not an owner, I don't know what you're doing. He now has Richmond. And yeah, he is definitely someone that you want for that game. Bit disappointing on the weekend with a 108. Wasn't at 100 points at 3/4 time. Should have gone bigger, but did get sort of rested at at full forward for the 4th quarter, which is a bit disappointing as someone who captained him. But yeah, he got Richmond this weekend. Should be a bit more contested, meaning probably a bit more tackles. Hopefully doesn't cop any attention. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to be one that can put up a 140 on your head very quickly and does have Essendon the week after. So again, when we're talking about teams that have very good runs, it's St Kilda, Geelong, and a few others as well. So yeah, definitely number 2 there for me. Lockie Whitfield does slot in at number 3, sorry. Does have North this weekend, which isn't the best matchup. I'll say that for designated kick-up players. The ball doesn't live down there a fair bit. So that doesn't mean he may not have a decent score. But, looking at his scoring history, pretty much all above 110 in the last 4 weeks since returning from injury, I think it was, or concussion, whatever it was. Run home is fairly good as well. So I think you just want him. He's definitely an upgrade on a lot of the other defenders. So again, from Mazorko, going to Whitfield only cost you about 20k. If you're going down from a Zach Merritt, that's saving cash there. Even a Butters is only costing you a little bit as well. So yeah, he's just a perfect price tag to sort of jump on to, who has a ceiling and has the average to support him for the remainder of the season. So that's why I really like Lockie Whitfield for the remainder of the season. Sorry, I'm starting to run out of breath now. Number 4, I've got the likes of Jack Sinclair. Was slightly disappointing last weekend. Did cop a bit of attention. I don't know exactly from who. Whether maybe it was a Curtis or something like that. Just made him a bit more accountable. Didn't get the marks that we normally see from a Sinclair. So that's the only reason why he didn't score well. But again, the matchups are there. Not seeing any attention coming his way. Should put up a ton quite comfortably. So yeah, he's another very easy target. And to finish off the round 5, the top 5 here is Lockie Ash. Same reasons as Lockie Whitfield. Even had his biggest score of the season with a 135 on the weekend. So finding some very good areas. Was super consistent before that 65 last week. Again, tougher matchup against Sydney. And the runs home is fairly good. So I think there's just some very clear targets in the defensive line that you can throw into your midfield quite comfortably. Let me just look at this real quick if I can. Can I go off average for defenders? So you probably want a Nasiah, a Sheasel, a Whitfield, a Rose Z is maybe the only question mark. Ash, Holmes, Sinclair. You probably want all of those sort of players quite comfortably, and 1 or 2 of them are going to fit into your midfield line. Even Kobe McKercher, Caleb Mills is also there as well. They're also traveling quite well. So we've got a lot of defenders in our team. So yeah, I wouldn't be too uncomfortable if you do have them in there at this moment. So that is the trade-in targets this week, guys. Hopefully you have found, or hopefully I haven't missed anyone in those. But yeah, my top 5 trade-in targets this week overall across all lines. I think you're going to get the most instant reward from Jeremy Cameron. Again, I think this could be a 150 on the cards for him, quite simply. Let me just bring him up. Sorry, not defenders. Yeah, again, Essendon should probably kick 10. Probably has 130, 150, and is going to be a pretty good VC option. Does play Friday night, so yeah, very viable option this weekend. Number 2, I have the likes of Max Holmes, really just targeting this matchup. Again, they are the easiest matchup for both inside mids and designated kick-up players, so he should have another 130 plus, as long as he doesn't cop any attention, which, who knows? I haven't seen Essendon do any tagging recently, but I do have Durham in their team, so there's always the potential. Number 3, again, following the same sort of trend, Brian Myers, going to be top sort of 6 forward for the remainder of the season. Again, matchup, so here's number 3. Number 4, I had Nasiah Wangini-Malira. Nasiah. I don't know why I need to bring him up, but I do. Yeah, number 4, just if you need him. If you don't have him, you need him. Just get him in. $1.2 million. He is going to hurt you for the next 2 weeks, in my opinion. So, yeah, number 4. And then I threw in Lockie Whitfield. My God, I can't get his bloody name right. At number 5, I think he goes well this weekend and for the remainder of the season. One that was probably unlucky to miss out was Jordan Dawson. He definitely should be a viable option in the top 5 here in the overall trading targets. If you're looking for a midfielder, he's definitely up there. So that is the trading targets this week. Quickly capping off this video with what I'm doing. So I have traded my trades a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm in love with this or not, but it's just looking at jumping off both the tag options in Zach Merritt and Zach Butters. 2 Zach boys who I did trade in together only a couple weekends ago. That was probably a bad move on my part. Looking for a bit of a reward. They have definitely not provided that, but it is now jumping on the likes of Jeremy Cameron again for those sort of reasons. Here's my number 1 trading target, and Lockie Whitfield. Finally got it right there. So yeah, that's my trade target so far. I'm potentially still going elsewhere, jumping off for Tom McCarthy and getting in Jeremy Cameron anyway, but I think I want to jump off these 2 and just try and get some instant reward. I'm just not sure I'm going to get it this week with Lockie Whitfield, so maybe I could look to go elsewhere there. I do still have 131k there in the bank. But I love how the way the team's looking at the moment. Look, I threw Bailey Smith into my midfield. That just makes the midfield look so much stronger. I've got 2 defenders in my midfield as well with McKercher and Sinclair. I still have Callum Mills, who is a little bit of a concern against Brisbane Lions. I would love to sort of loop him potentially this week. If I quickly look at what the fixture's looking like, they play Saturday afternoon, and that would mean I would have to roll in to McCarthy, who I still do have, but again, I don't think he's going to score well. So that's probably what I'll do. I'll probably look at what Callum Mills does on that week in that game. If he goes well, then I can just throw on a Bailey Wilson. Yeah, I can throw Bailey Wilson in after that game and take his score, or then I can just run into a Con McCarthy if he puts up like a 60 that we've seen from Callum Mills previously. I think everyone else should be okay. I know the North boys have GWS, which is a tougher one, but I think they'll be okay. They've been fairly consistent. I think Caleb Daniel just goes back to his 70 ways. I'm happy with that. I don't think there's too much of an upside anywhere else realistically. So overall, happy with how the team's suiting up. But yeah, stay tuned for captains tomorrow. I'll come out with my top 10 there and hopefully continuing to push for the top captain picker for the season. So all the best, guys. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, and do all those great things. Hopefully you're kicking ass for the remainder of the season and pushing for those cars, if not hats, if not just league wins. So all the best, guys. Cheers. Bye.